Hello guys, this is my review show for Game Week 5 of the Premier League fixtures which took place over the weekend. So we start off with the first game which was on Friday night in the derby between Brighton and Bournemouth. A game which I thought Bournemouth would bounce back after 4 defeats on the trot. Um, it proved to be a very nervy affair for Bournemouth in the first hour. A lot of possession in the game, but not much cutting edge. Nothing going forward. They were struggling really. And then as the game grew, as the game got a bit older, Brighton grew into the game. And Brighton scored straight after half time through Solly March with a great header, making it 1-0 to Brighton. From then on, the pressure was always going to grow on Bournemouth as it was a fixture that they desperately needed something from. Eddie Howe brought on Jordan Ibe, who set up both goals. First goal, it was a brilliant back heel through to Andrew Sermon with a good finish. And then the second goal, which was never in doubt, Jermaine Defoe with a finish which he's been so accustomed to throughout his career across the keeper. And it was a very welcome 3 points for Bournemouth in that game. A game which I predicted Bournemouth to do well in, and they didn't disappoint. So moving on to the game, another game which had a lot bearing on it, which was the Crystal Palace Southampton game, which took place at 12:30 on Saturday. The new manager who was appointed, Roy Hodgson, was in charge. Um, Crystal Palace again, a game where they struggled going forward a lot. It looked like there was a lot of problems. I predicted that Roy Hodgson wouldn't be much difference to Crystal Palace, as I couldn't see what difference he'd bring into the team. But yeah, the game started off pretty badly for Crystal Palace, as bad as it could have started. Steve Davis with a nice finish to make it 1-0 to Southampton. But from then on, it was just Crystal Palace were huffing and puffing, but they were never actually getting close, bar one attempt from Christian Benteke in the first half, which he really should have scored. But yeah, a game where Crystal Palace, it just mounts the pressure on the new manager Roy Hodgson, and their next three fixtures aren't any easier. They play Southampton, Manchester City away, Manchester United away. It's very difficult to see where they're going to get any points from them fixtures. So it looks like Crystal Palace are in a dog place at the moment. Hopefully, for the Crystal Palace fans, they can hope that they can maybe nick a draw against Southampton and Man City, Man United. Any points they get there is a bonus. And then the fixtures after that, they need to really try and target a few fixtures and try and get maximum points from them games. But yeah, Crystal Palace are really struggling at the moment, and it looks like they need someone like one of their main players to perform like Christian Benteke, who looks like he's lost a lot of confidence. As long as with the other players such as Jason Puncheon. I know they'll have Wilfried Zaha back, so that'll be a bonus for them. But yeah, a game where Crystal Palace needed to get something from, and unfortunately they didn't. And now they face an uphill battle in the next few fixtures, which I don't see them getting anything from. Okay, moving on to the next game. Another game which was very difficult to call due to the fact that it could have gone either way. Whereas Huddersfield versus Leicester, full-time score was 1-1. Um, First half was pretty poor again, not much from both sides. Well, Huddersfield did have a lot of it in the first half, but nothing really telling that they were doing. Huddersfield took the lead through De Potter in the 47th minute. It was a really good finish, but then defensively they folded and Leicester were awarded a penalty. Jamie Vardy took responsibility and made it 1-1. What else happened in that game? 10-15 minutes later, Jamie Vardy missed a really easy goal that he could have scored to make it 2-1 to Leicester. But it was chances from both ends, and I think both sides were content with the point in that game. So 1-1 seemed a fair reflection of what happened in the game. Another game which was not a tough one to call, but some people would have predicted a draw in this game was Liverpool-Burnley. A lot of people know that Liverpool have problems against the smaller teams such as Burnley, West Brom, teams like that, because they just really find it really difficult to break them down at Anfield, and this proved to be so again. Burnley went into the game, first 20 minutes, saw how the game was going. Put 10 men behind the ball, and when they attacked, they could. And they scored a brilliant goal, actually, through Ashley Barnes with a great side-footed finish into the corner. A lot of question marks over the defending. Uh, Again, a lot of Liverpool fans are angry with Lovren and his contribution to the team. They think he's not good enough, and a lot of friends that I know that are Liverpool fans are crying out for a centre back and don't see the reason why Jurgen Klopp keeps persisting with Lovren at centre back. So it's a problem that Liverpool need to address. Unfortunately, they can't now as the transfer window is closed, but they need to try and find a way where they can overcome these smaller sides. As we know, they're great against the big teams, but against the smaller teams, Liverpool tend to struggle, and that's going to be their downfall this season. So they need to try cope with a strategy where they overturn these small teams and turn those 1 points into 3. Okay, moving on to the next game, which was Watford versus Man City at the 3 o'clock kickoff at Vicarage Road. A game where a lot of people predicted a Man City comfortable win, and it was nothing but a comfortable win to Man City. 6-0, the full-time score was hat-trick for Aguero, Otamendi, Sterling on the score sheet as well. Very one-sided game, 3-0 up inside the first half. Aguero with a brilliant third goal. Watford, a bit of check to reality for them. They've had a great start to the season, but they were always going to struggle against Man City, a team which looks formidable with the strike force that they have, and doesn't look like anybody can stop their attack at the moment. No doubt they will be tested in bigger games when they play teams like Chelsea, Liverpool, and the upper half of the Premier League table. But Watford were demolished on Saturday, and it was pretty ruthless from Man City, again scoring 15 goals in all competitions in the space of a week. 4 against Feyenoord, 5 against Liverpool, 6 against Watford. Man City are really looking the real deal, and it looks like Pep has got them playing the way that he wants them to be playing. Okay, so moving on to one of the most dull games of the weekend. This was at the Hawthorn between West Brom and West Ham. I predicted a West Ham win for some reason. I just thought that they'd have too much for West Brom. A game very few on chances, not much going. The only thing that was noticeable in this game was the Obiang effort from 35 yards. Apart from that, a game which had not a lot going in it. And I think both sides were content to get a point and not lose the game. The next game which proved to be a major shock of the weekend was Tottenham Swansea. A lot of people would have had a Tottenham home win very comfortable, but proved a very difficult test. Again, Tottenham's Wembley problems continue. They've lost against Chelsea at Wembley. They drew against Burnley in the last minute at Wembley, and now they've drawn against a struggling Swansea side at Wembley. It really is a cause for concern, considering the fact that Tottenham beat Dortmund, one of the greatest sides in the world, on Wednesday 3-1 pretty convincingly, and then a few days later to get a goalless draw against Swansea shows that there's something not right there. Swansea side struggling for anything. I don't think any Swansea fan would have expected anything from the game, but the fact that they've got a point away at Tottenham, I think they'd be very happy with that. Tottenham showed a lot of attacks going into the game, a lot of possession, but just simply weren't good enough. They had a few handball shots, but waved away, and yeah, Tottenham would be really upset with drawing at home to Swansea. It's a similar problem to Liverpool. They have to find a way that they can grind out results, and at home it seems very tough for them at the moment because they've only picked up 1 point, and that was against Burnley, and that was in the last minute. Struggled against Chelsea, which was expected, but really should be beating Swansea at home, and they didn't manage to do that. So moving on to the Sunday's games, 2 games which had a lot of hype going into from a lot of people. First game was Chelsea Arsenal. A lot of people, even pundits such as Graham Souness, ex-players like that were thinking Arsenal were going to get trampled on, just like they did at Anfield. But surprisingly, Arsenal weren't the Arsenal of old and actually put in a performance. Um, Very disciplined performance from Arsenal. To be honest, I think we shaded the game, scored an offside goal. We had the better chances in the game through Lacazette. Ramsey hit the post. Chelsea didn't trouble us too much. They had one chance, I think, in the first half from Pedro, which was saved by Czech. Apart from that, was fairly comfortable for Arsenal, and that's not been set. That's not happened a lot going away to Stamford Bridge since we've not won there since 2011. One thing I would have changed in the game I would have started Alexis over Alex Iwobi. I didn't see what he brought to the game, but yeah, he's a player that's going to learn over time. But I would have preferred to start with Alexis, and I reckon we could have nicked the win. But yeah, I was really happy with the point away at Stamford Bridge, a game which a lot of people have predicted Arsenal to get trampled on. People were predicting 4-5-0 to Chelsea. It's nice to see a disciplined performance, and I think the major factor to that was Kolasinac just playing a guy. You can see the guy's got passion, um, doesn't want to lose, and he looks like a proper old-fashioned left back. And I'm really happy that we got him, and that's credit to Wenger. We signed him, even though Wenger gets a lot of stick. I think he got a really good free transfer there instead, Kolasinac. Moving on to the final game of the weekend, this was Manchester United versus Everton. A game which I thought Everton had to turn up in. The fact that they'd lost their past few games, they lost 2-0 away to Chelsea, and they were beaten by Spurs at home 3-0. Then they lost to Atlanta in the Europa Cup. So it was a game which I thought Everton had to turn up. The fact that Wayne Rooney was playing added something else to it. Maybe that he could have scored against his former club and showed that what his worth was. But it just wasn't meant to be. And they got to 1-0 in the 80th minute. And then a bit similar like the Swansea game, Everton crumbled. 3 quick-fire United goals. Lukaku with another goal. He's looking really hot to handle at the moment. And yeah, 4-0 United win. A bit scoreline a bit more comfortable than it actually seemed at the time. But I'm sure United fans won't argue with that. And they're sitting very comfortably at the top of the table. So that's it for this week's review show. The main question being, is it going to be a two-horse race? Man City, Man United looking unstoppable at the moment, tearing everyone that comes in the way. But the only thing is that can be said on that point is they've not faced a major side yet. When they play a major side, if they perform like as they are now, then we'll see if they are the real deal this season. But yeah, it's looking very one-sided after 5 games of the season. Hopefully that changes. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching.